All right. So today we're talking about mobile development. What this includes, so mobile development is different from desktop development or web app development in that we're targeting a different audience. And it's not necessarily a different audience, it's a different platform, and it's a lot of different platforms. So you can't just write the same code and it works on mobile platforms, generically speaking. But actually what we're going to do today is use a couple of tools and frameworks that allow us to write code using CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, and actually write applications, mobile applications that will run on iOS or Android. So to do that, we're going to talk about something first, the tools that we're going to use. These tools are Ionic and Cordova. Now, Ionic, well, let's start with Cordova, actually. Cordova is a tool that is basically, it's a wrapper around some of the native functionalities of a platform, so like iOS or Android. The things that those phones can do if you were to write natively in the languages for those phones, for those platforms. And it wraps around those and it exposes those features or functionalities through a JavaScript API that we can then call. Ionic is a framework that we use to write CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, and it works with Cordova in order to build a mobile-looking application for your phones. So essentially what it is you build a website, and it's put inside of a wrapper and made to look like an application. And then you can deploy those to the Play Store or the Google Store. And it downloads and it runs and it feels and looks like a real application. But it's really just a website that is in a wrapper looking like an application. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code. Let me open that up here. Pull this over. Here we go. So the first thing that we need to do is install Cordova and Ionic. So to do that, you can run npm install -g. Make sure you have the -g there or it won't be global and it will only be for the current directory you're in. Cordova and Ionic. So npm install -g Cordova space Ionic. So install both of those. I've already got them both installed, but it should run through that again for me. And make sure you install both of them. We're not going to be working with Cordova directly for this lecture, but Ionic is going to be using Cordova under the hood. So you need both of them. While that's installing, let's talk about the differences between the app we're going to build right now and a native app. So the app we're going to build right now is a hybrid application. And what hybrid means is there's some native to it. Whatever Cordova uses, it can use native elements of each platform, but it's also just a website that's using them. So it's not a pure native application, as opposed to if you wrote an application for iOS in Objective-C, or if you wrote an application for Android using Java. There we go. Almost done.
How does that work?
There we go. I've got them both installed. Next thing we need to do is we need to go to apps.ionic.io/signup. So the reason we're coming here is because we can create an Ionic account, which will allow us to push our applications up to this account. Now the reason that's useful, and I'll show you it in a minute, but there's actually an application that you can download on your phone called Ionic View, which will allow you to push your applications up and test them on your phone without having to plug your phone in to the computer or use an emulator and download the SDK for mobile development. So I can literally be programming it on my computer, and then when I want to test it, I can either test it in a browser or I can just upload it and I can access it from my phone that'll be tied to the same account. So once you go ahead and create an account, it should log you in. If not, you can go ahead and log in here. And we're going to go ahead and create a new app button. I'm going to go ahead and call this one Lecture App. So I'll create that. I've got my lecture app, so that's good. And you'll see in a minute how we're going to link that. The next thing you need to do is from your terminal, you need to run Ionic login. Now this will ask you for your username and password. That's the username and password that you just created, or your email and your password. So got mine here. My password. So now I'm logged in. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and create a new project. Now there's a lot of different templates you can use. There's blank, there's one with side panels, there's a really common one with tabs. We're going to go ahead and use the tabs one. So we run Ionic start, then the name of the project that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this one Lecture App, and then the template we're going to use, and that's the tabs template. So Ionic start, the name of the project you're creating, and then the template you want to use. I'm going to run that, and it's going to start building. We're inside here right now. So you can see this lecture app, this was just created. It's starting to build everything that we need there.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you one, but it might take a couple days. I gotta get it back.
npm install takes a little bit of time, installing all of the dependencies. We can look at what those dependencies are while we're here. Let's open up our package.json. So there's our dependencies that are being installed. And you can see here all the Angular, it's actually using Angular 4 instead of Angular 1. And going through this course, you're used to Angular 1 most likely at this point. So there's also a way to create an Ionic app that uses Angular 1. All you do is at the end of your command, you add -- type space Ionic 1, the number. And that will create a project structure with Angular 1 as opposed to Angular 4.
So we ran out of medium.
All right. It's taking a little longer to run than usual. So while it's running, we'll go ahead and open up some of these folders to take a look at. So our source folder is going to have all of the sources, all the resources we're going to be using to create this app. So I'll go ahead and open up my pages here. And we can take a look at one of these. Let's take a look at tabs first. So if I open up our tabs.html, you can see here it's creating 3 tabs. Now some of the syntax may be new, you haven't seen it before, and that's okay. And the more you play with it, you'll learn more about it. But you can see here, we're going to have a tab called Home, About, and Contact. So if I look at my about.html, this is going to be the About page. It's just normal HTML, but it does have some of its own tags, its own elements that are specific to Ion. So now this will come up if we look back here at the terminal again, and it's going to ask you if you want it to be able to use tools like Ionic View. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. It will automatically open this up for you. We can ignore that for now, and I'm going to go ahead and run Ionic link. This is how we're going to link this. Oh, I need a cd into that directory first. So cd into lecture app, then run Ionic link. This will link it to that project we just created. So you can see here, if I go back here, you can see all of the apps I have there. We just created lecture app. I'm going to link this to lecture app. Now it says it's linked, so that's good. Now anytime I run Ionic upload, it will push this to that app it will allow me to access it from there or from my phone, which I'll show you in a minute. So let's go ahead for now and let's run Ionic Serve. And Ionic Serve will boot it up in the browser for us to see.
And then make sure to mark those.
Should open up here.
Yeah, we'll do that.
There it is.
Yeah,
So here's the app, and now it's pretty spread out for a mobile app. It doesn't usually look like this. So if you want to open up your DevTools, you can change it to a mobile view. And you can see the tabs here. Home, About, Contacts. Looks like an app, like a mobile app. So let's go ahead and end that. Control-C to end that, to terminate it. And we'll go ahead and run an Ionic upload.
for tickets so that we can all have like a standardized like, ticket response.
Right.
So what this is going to do is upload it so that it's updated here. And once that's done, if you go to your Play Store or wherever you get apps on your phone and you download Ionic View, you will be able to open up Ionic View. I'll show you this in a second here. See how the camera is there. And look, there you can see the app I just created. There's my lecture app. So if I click on that, it'll give me it'll give me some options like that. I can click on View App. And it's loading. You can see it loading. There's a lot of loading going on today in this lecture. But as soon as it loads, I'll show you it's on the phone. So basically that makes development pretty easy because you can write the code on your computer, mess around with it. You can test it in the browser, which is a little quicker, as you can tell. But then when you want to try it on your phone and make sure it works the way you want it to, all you do is you access it through Ionic View, and you can look at all the apps that you've developed. So we're just under halfway there. When it gets there, I'll show you. There we go. Or at least the bar is full. There you go. So you can see the app is right there. You can test it out on the phone. And it feels just like a real app. So that's super cool. All right. So let's go ahead and make some changes to this. Let's say we want to add our own tab. So I'm going to say Ionic Serve so I can take a look at it in the browser while I mess with it. Then we're going to build our own app. And you're going to learn a very, very little bit of Angular 4 today. So that's a pretty cool opportunity. So as this comes up, there we go. I'm going to go into my DevTools so that it looks like an actual phone app, mobile app. Excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and make some changes to this now. So I want to add a new tab. So let's go, as you can see by the structure here, I've got pages. There's my About page, my Contact page, my Home page, and there's tabs. So let's go to tabs first. Open this up. And we're going to follow this pattern. A lot of software development is seeing patterns, recognizing them, and being able to follow them, and then to tweak them the way you need. So I'm going to change that to tab 4 root. I'm going to change this to my tab. And I'm going to change this to say my tab. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up tabs and look at the pattern here. I've got each of these About pages being imported. So I'm going to go ahead and write an import here. Close that. Change this to my tab. I'm going to make it my tab page because everything has page at the end. We're going to grab that from my tab / my tab. Now that doesn't exist yet, so we're going to create that in a little bit. That's why it's underlined red. We'll come back in here and we'll set tab 4 root equal to my tab page. There we go. So now let's go ahead and create this my tab. So we'll add to our pages a new folder called My Tab. And then inside that, we're going to create mytab.html, and we will create mytab.ts, which is a TypeScript file, which is it's an extension. It's an extension of JavaScript, and that's what we're going to be using in Angular 4. So we'll make mytab.ts. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing and follow the pattern. I'm going to copy. I'm not going to use home because there's a lot of stuff there. I'm going to copy it from contact. I think about had even less. There we go. We're going to copy it from about. So there's my about HTML. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm just going to change this to say my tab. Save that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the TS from the about. Go ahead and copy that. Go back into my tab, TS, and paste it there. Make any necessary changes, such as changing this to page, my tab. And we're going to link up to the template URL of mytab.html, not about HTML. We'll change this class name to be my tab page. And that looks like all the changes we need to make there. So if we go over, there's going to be an error here right now because everything's not, well, if I click on that, then there's an error. And it says that it's easier to read it down here. No component factory found for my tab page. Did you add it to ng model or to entry components? And I didn't. So the place that you can find that at is here in app components TS, no, app module TS. And I do the same thing. I just follow the same pattern here. I see all my pages inserted here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my tab page here and my tab page right here. And then up here, I also need to import that. So let's go ahead, follow the same pattern here, and grab my tab page. And that's going to be in pages, my tab, my tab. There we go. Got rid of that red. Let's see what we got going on here.
Maybe you can make the letters white and then make the header.
There we go. Perfect. And you can see at the top it says my tab. So I've got a new blank tab there that we've added. We don't have a icon there, so let's go ahead and create a new icon. Not create a new icon, but put the icon there. Check out the tabs. And this is the icon that we want there. I'm going to do, and I'll show you where to find all these in a minute, but I'm going to do American football. Save that. This automatically refreshes. Now you can see there's my tab down there. So that's cool to play around with. If you learn a little bit of Angular 4, you can do more with that. It's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at the different type of components that we can use in here. So in order to do that, you can go to ionicframework.com/docs/components, and you'll see a lot of CSS components that we have made available to us. If you look at this over here on the side, as I scroll down, you'll see some of the things that it makes available. Show prompt alert. It will prompt you for stuff if you use that. You got show radio button alert. You can build these just using, here's all the documentation. It's very straightforward and super usable. You've got a bunch of buttons here. Bunch of cool looking stuff there. Cards. Let's jump down to icons, because icons are what I said I'd show you where they're at. If you go to, where was it? It says all icons somewhere on here. Explore the full icon set. You can see all the icons and how they look, so you can use those in any of your elements. So go back. So there's a lot of stuff here. Let's go ahead and let's use a list. Something we're all pretty familiar with here. There's that one. That one belongs to the there's lines one. Let's see. What do we use here? It's jumping on now. Compares. Where is that up here? Oh, whoops. What the head one? Oh, let's see over that. I'm gonna grab that anyway. We're gonna put it in here. Code. We're gonna do night channel. Come right down here. And content. Put this here. All formatted correctly. Oops. Tab that over. Tab that. All right. So if I say this now. Over here. You see that this all under that here. So I got this there. Go ahead and add the header. You see the buttons up. Different header. And we'll add a couple of these under there. The 50 first dates. I don't remember the name of that. Oh, yeah, I don't know. There, but things you can play around with any of these. You can add buttons, icons. Let's go ahead and put this checkbox throw in there. I like to just copy and paste it in there and then shoot out based on what I need how everything works. So there you go, checkbox. So that's super useful. So I encourage you all to play around with those a little bit, try out a bunch of different of those components. And like I said, if you don't want to use Angular 4, which is perfectly understandable because you've all learned Angular up to this point, you can simply run, let me terminate that. If you run the command to start a new Ionic app, you run Ionic, start, the name of your app, and then you can do tabs or you can even do blank. I like to do tabs just because it gives you a little bit to start with. And then instead of hitting enter, you can go ahead and do -- type Ionic 1. And that will generate an Ionic app using Angular 1 as opposed to Angular 4. So you can do that and you'll be a little more familiar with what's in there. So that is about it for this lecture. Are there any questions from anyone online? All right, well, if you think of any questions later, feel free to reach out to me via email or Slack, and I'll help you out with whatever you have. Have a good one.